Christine, you and I ruminate on this topic a lot. What's the disconnect between 3.7% unemployment? Inflation, 3.1% is largely where people think inflation can exist. What's going on between what's happening and what people are saying they feel?
Allie, I think those inflation scars are really, really deep, and it will take a lot of time to heal those wounds. And I think that's what the Treasury Secretary was sort of suggesting, that over time, people are going to realize that the worst of the inflation is behind us and that things are getting better. That inflation situation was pretty scary coming out of the pandemic. I also think that you and I, econo nerds like you and I, we talk about inflation rates, but Americans talk about price levels. And so a 3.1% inflation rate is on top of a 7% inflation in November last year. That's 10% if you add those two together, right? Just for back of the envelope math. So people are still paying more for their grocery bill today than they were 2 or 3 years ago, and they know that.
Christine, let me ask you about this. I know you think about this a lot. How much of inflation is real because wages are up, people earn more money, employers have to pay more money to get their employees? That's sort of a real thing, and over time that levels out. And then there's this thing where people say some companies raise prices because in an inflationary environment, that's what consumers think is going to happen, and maybe they're profiteering from that a little bit. What do you think of that analysis?
Yeah, you're talking about that greedflation, I think, is what progressives call it. And companies, when you talk to them, they say their inputs are going up too. So they're raising prices because their inputs are going up. But when you look at corporate profits have been pretty good this year, right? So profits have still been good, and they've been passing along price increases. So I don't know how much the so-called greedflation fits into the whole thing. I do know that, a big chunk of inflation is shelter costs. It's the cost of housing, and that's been really, really tough to turn the curve on. And Janet Yellen, the Treasury Secretary, yesterday said they think that those are going to start to come down. The shelter costs will start to come down next year. The Fed chief said the same thing. It takes a long time to turn sort of that chart. And they're hoping but shelter's been a real big part of the problem. And Allie, you can switch which cuts of meat you buy at the grocery store if you're trying to, manage inflation in your grocery bill. You can't change where you live overnight. And so that's why that part of the inflation story has been really troubling.
What about the idea that there are countries, particularly Northern Europe, where wages are higher than they are, let's say, for the average American, and over time costs go up too, but they don't feel it as much? When you go to Oslo, Norway, everything's expensive, but people earn well and they've got health care and their education is paid for, so they generally feel better about higher wages. Is that something that's going to happen to us over time, where our wages will go up or prices will go up, but we'll resettle at a higher level?
I'm not sure. I mean, I think it's hard to make that comparison because you have, for example, the United States. One of the reasons why I think so many people say they don't feel good about the economy is because you can't get daycare. You can't get a babysitter. You have, I think, 20% fewer people in the daycare, in the child care industry than you had before the pandemic, right? It's expensive. Child care is more than the same as the cost of going to a public college in a lot of states. It's real. So there are these things about the American economy that bother people that are still just, it's friction in your day-to-day life and going back to work. And I think that is one of the reasons why these sentiment polls have been so consistently negative about how people feel about the economy. I've been calling it the sourpuss economy. I'll say to people, look at all these things that are going right, and they just give me a funny face. They don't feel it. And so I think that's something that maybe time will heal. But the Fed certainly thinks that, Allie, that they've got this right. I mean, they're not declaring victory on inflation yet, but all the ingredients of a soft landing is what the Fed chief was trumpeting yesterday.
So we've got record numbers in stock markets. We got the Dow at the highest level it's ever been, the Nasdaq, the S&P 500. If you've got a 401k, that'll be reflected in these numbers. But the other number that I think you and I would agree is substantially more important is the unemployment rate at 3.7%. How many years did you and I believe that 5% was full employment, right? That there's always going to be 5% of the society who's in flux and moving around. 3.7%. Tell me what you make of that. That's on one hand great because it's causing wages to go up. On the other hand, it's in some places a severe labor shortage. When you talk about why people can't get child care or care at their home, it's because those people are doing something else that pays more money.
Yeah. And in some cases, why more women aren't working more hours at their job because they can't get the childcare that they need. Look, that unemployment rate is just spectacular. I mean, it really is. There are 8 million open jobs in America right now, way more open jobs than people who are looking for work. And the other thing is the Fed, in its sort of forecast, Allie, for next year, I mean, it sees the economy slowing. It sees the jobless rate rising to a whopping 4.1%, which is still historically low, So the Fed thinks it can achieve this price stability, which is looking for a 2% sort of price growth in the economy and not kill the job market in the process. And I sure hope they're right. I sure hope they're right for all of our sakes. But, anything can happen. Just think about this year, Allie. At the beginning of the year, it was not if there'd be a recession, but when and how terrible. And they got it wrong. It was just wrong. There wasn't a recession this year. I also think that all that talking and forecasting of recessions might be one of the reasons why people feel so lousy about the economy now, even though we didn't have one.